Welcome to another episode of Extreme Expat Stories. Thank you to our amazing subscribers. We want to extend a heartfelt thank you to all of our subscribers for supporting Extreme Expat Stories of Thailand and helping the channel grow. Your enthusiasm, comments, and story submissions mean the world to us. Please keep sending in your unique and unforgettable expat experiences. We're doing our best to curate and share them with the community. Every story adds depth and authenticity to the channel, and we couldn't do it without you. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. It really helps us reach more people who enjoy this kind of content. We hope you enjoy the videos as much as we enjoy creating them. And stay tuned. We've got plans to continue improving the quality and bringing you even more engaging stories in the future. Thank you again. And here's to more wild and wonderful expat adventures. Ciao, my friend. They say people don't write letters anymore, but here I am. An old Italian in Thailand, typing with shaky hands. I'm Giovanni, 60 years young, and recently divorced. Writing to you from Pattaya. Back in Italy, life had become a broken record. Empty apartment, stale espresso, and the sound of my own sighs. Rosa left me for a younger yoga instructor, and I was left with memories and a burning desire for change. So I sold my Vespa. At a loss, of course. Emptied what savings I had, and said arrivederci to everything familiar. Your channel has been like a lifeline when I felt alone in Bangkok. I stumbled on a video about a German expat going wild in Bangkok and thought, thank God, I'm not the only madman out here. I never expected to end up with a tale of my own, but here we are. For context, Pattaya hosts about 50 to 60,000 expats, retirees, and drifters chasing sunshine and cheap beer. So I figured I might as well join the club. Not for the stability, mind you. I had none of that left. In Sicily, I had been nobody special. Just a scooter salesman by day, karaoke enthusiast by night. But life had lost its flavor. Every morning the alarm clock rang the same old tune. Wake up, Giovanni. Wake up. I was 57 when I realized maybe it was time to skip Italy for a while. I sold my dusty old scooter, withdrew the last coins from my savings, and set off on this crazy adventure. I was essentially looking for a place to hide from myself. I figured I might as well go where everyone else did. After all, why face your problems when you can run to the tropics? I arrived at the airport with a mix of excitement and panic. I pretended to browse a travel guide that humorously described Pattaya as either heaven or a heartbreak. You decide. I chuckled and got one odd stare from a stranger as I tried to map out my mistake. On the plane, I ordered orange juice. I was trying to be healthy, and maybe winked too much at the stewardess. I blamed the grappa I had the night before. By the time we touched down in Bangkok, I felt drunk on jet lag and neon lights. Bangkok welcomed me like a disco ball in an airport lounge. Neon everywhere, and not a hint of sleep. The flight attendant had taught me sawadee and kopkun, which I promptly forgot after one sip of rum punch. Stepping outside into 30 degrees air was like walking into a sauna-infused hug. My first thought, this is either paradise or a hallucination. Half remembered reading that since the Vietnam War, Thailand has gained an international reputation as a sex tourism destination. I chuckled. Surely that was just travel hype. By the time our bus rolled into Pattaya, reality slapped me. Welcome to Walking Street, our driver joked, pointing to a neon-clad strip with music so loud I felt it in my teeth. I remembered a line on Wikipedia. The primary tourist prostitution zones of Thailand are often identified as Pattaya. I laughed nervously. Somehow I didn't feel smarter for that. I nearly fell out of the bus as we stopped. I'd never seen a city quite like it. Cheap street food stalls were serving breakfast noodles alongside bars already packed with midday drinkers. Ladyboys sashayed past a temple mural. A Buddhist monk shuffled by, rolling his eyes at my touristic grin. The moment I stepped off the bus, I took a lungful of that warm, humid air and thought I might inhale my last brain cell. The street vendors were already flipping pad thai and mango sticky rice, the scent trailing me as if I were their personal garbage can. Farang, a ladyboy from a salon, shouted at me cheerfully, beckoning me for a facial. I shouted back, Sawadi, like I meant it. Every sense was buzzing. I made my way to my guest house, a resort with 2 fans and 1 flickering mosquito light, and collapsed briefly on the bed before heading back out. Yes, I was in trouble, and I loved it. Pattaya's siren song hit me fast and hard. Almost immediately, I discovered what this city offered. Cheap pleasures. Walking past bar after bar, I saw prices that made my Italian heart skip a beat. A bottle of local beer cost about €1, and a cocktail bucket, several mixed drinks in a plastic bucket, barely €5. A message with a happy ending ran about €15. Back home, I might have starved before drinking like that. Here, I became like a cartoon robber, joyfully tossing baht around with the reckless abandon of a medieval feast. Easy company. I went into one bar as a lonely old man and stumbled out hours later with a conga line of giggling Russians and Canadians. No matter where I pointed, someone was more than happy to buy me a drink. I met a Danish guy who claimed he'd tried every one of Pattaya Street's foods, including fried scorpions, which I politely declined. A Thai bartender asked if I wanted to sing some karaoke. Of course I did. Even the stray dogs at 2 a.m. gave me a friendly nod. It felt like being famous for no reason. Anonymity. In Italy, everyone knew when I had a late night. Here, I could sleep until dusk and still call it morning. Once, I danced on a table wearing a tank top with spaghetti stains, and nobody asked questions. They just handed me another beer. I dropped my sunglasses in a bar, and when I went to retrieve them the next day, the waitress had already recycled them into a cocktail garnish. No, really. Nobody back home would have let that happen. It was the ultimate escape from what will they think. Here, the only question was, how many drinks can we buy this old coot? Walking Street. Finally, there's the infamous Walking Street itself. A half-mile of neon, motorcycles, and mayhem. Wikipedia calls it a prostitution zone, and it lives up to that name. And then some. It's like Las Vegas, Ibiza, and a cruise ship all crammed together. Ladyboy shows next to full contact boxing bars, girls selling buckets, and music blasting from every direction. I got hopelessly lost there, multiple times. One bouncer tried to give me directions by waving a lit cigarette. I thanked him with a thumbs up. Luckily, no one thought it was a hostile gesture like in Italy. All of this was too much fun for one scared old Italian. I felt like a moth on the edge of a flame. Draw, spin, get too close, burn. But I just kept playing with the heat. Before I knew it, every day had become a carbon copy of the last. I'd wake up in the late afternoon with a throbbing headache and invisible party poppers still going off in my brain. My routine was so routine it was scary. Wash the floor under my bed for no reason. Text my sister in Genoa with pizza emojis. She always responded with an Italian shrug emoji. Then stagger out for lunch. I remember one day ordering pat grappa-fueled, and somehow my eyes shot out of my head from the chili. The stall owner laughed and gave me extra sticky rice like a consolation prize. On weekends, a religious pilgrimage formed. First, the morning workout, a bar crawl starting at noon. Then, a local Muay Thai class at sunset. I even tried the Thai dance class once. I flailed so much they thought I was inventing a new style. By Sunday evening, I'd usually find myself in the arms of some new friend, singing cheesy Italian love songs out of tune. One ladyboy once told me, "Your accent, I like it." I nodded seriously and said, "Thank you, I learned it in Nice." Not sure why, but hey, it's nice. One muggy afternoon, I staggered into a beach temple to clear my head. The monks were chanting, but I nodded off mid-mantra. When I woke up, I was alone except for a curious crab crawling on my forehead. The monk later chuckled, thinking I was meditating so hard I'd become one with the wall. Not quite. Just a man who was all kinds of tired. I tried to pretend I was fixing this life. I would play a hunch, go for a morning swim, eat a salad, anything. But by 6 p.m. I was already half in the next bar, convinced the bucket cocktail was a health drink. One evening I even signed up for a cooking class to learn Thai spices. Big mistake. I spent 20 minutes crying and saying, "Picante, molto picante," while the teacher just handed me milk. She said that's how locals survive spicy nights. I survived by apologizing profusely and gulping water. My friends back in Italy must think I'm exaggerating, but I promise it was real. I texted them, bought 1 kilo papaya for breakfast. Turned out to be a typo. They worried I had joined a cult. Every day was like that. One long, ridiculous punchline. A typical day in Pattaya for me was a comedy sketch written by a madman. For example, noon, finally opened my eyes, attacked the water bottle on my nightstand like a lifesaver, because it is. Check the clock. Is it still yesterday? Confirm that my wallet is indeed missing again. Shuffle to the phone. 10 missed calls from the landlord. Later. Text Italy an emoji. They never respond to pictures, just sounds apparently. Afternoon. Force myself to eat something. Usually pat grappa-fueled, basil chicken. And more sticky rice than any skinny monk's dreams. Stray dogs may wander by. Sometimes I offer them scraps. Start daydreaming about how I'll become an internet coach for spaghetti recipes. Plan to start jogging tomorrow. Nap soundly with dreams dubbed in Thai subtitles. Early evening. Wake up feeling marginally better. Shower off yesterday's bartender hair. Dress up in my finest outfit, which might be the same shirt I wore 3 days ago, and it might have dried blood on the sleeve, but it's finest by Pattaya standards. Put on too much cologne, hoping to scare mosquitoes, even though it made me smell like a spy. Head out around 8 p.m., chanting, not too drunk, into my collar. Night. When the tuk-tuk flickers on, it's sign for Teprasit Road. I'm already halfway to last call. Walking Street is my living room. The go-go bars are my workplace. And the karaoke mic is my final coworker. I tell myself, just one more drink, and then another one. Each time starting the countdown to, no, really, I sleep after this. Spoiler, I never do. By sunrise, I've lost track of time. My phone, and often both shoes. If you think this routine sounds exhausting, you're right. Somewhere between being embraced by a ladyboy named Pawn, who taught me a new Thai curse word, and convincing a monk I was himself, I am blonde and bald. I probably lost my mind. But gosh, I was having the time of it. The night I discovered Soy Buakaw Market started like any other dive into the neon jungle, but ended up rewriting my internal map of Pattaya. I'd followed the smell of grilled pork skewers the way sailors once tracked constellations, weaving through an alley strung with fairy lights and extension cords that looked like exposed veins. Somewhere between a stall hawking fake Premier League jerseys and a cart piled with durian, I met Lily, 27, primary school teacher by day, clandestine guitar player by night. She wasn't selling anything. She was perched on a upturned beer crate, strumming Hotel California to an audience of 2 half-drunk backpackers and a cat. When she noticed me mouthing the lyrics, she slid the guitar into my hands with that Thai gesture that is half invitation, half dare. I butchered the solo. The backpackers howled. The cat bolted. And Lily laughed so hard she snorted. It was the first honest sound I'd heard in weeks, and I begged her for another song. That impromptu jam morphed into a roaming concert. Lily declared herself my cultural chaperone and marched me to every food stall within a 4-block radius. For the cost of a single cocktail bucket, we devoured mu ping, sai krok isan, and a dessert so sweet I felt my pancreas wave a white flag. Between bites, she quizzed my Thai vocabulary. I scored 4 out of 10. Generous grading. When I asked about her day job, she shrugged. Teaching English to kids who only want recess. Same everywhere, right? Right. Around midnight, the market's fluorescent lights switched off one by one, like a citywide eyelid closing. Vendors packed away their wooks with a choreography that must have been rehearsed for generations. Lily, now my unofficial tour guide, suggested we outrun the darkness on her scooter. Still drunk on grilled pork and her laugh, I agreed. She handed me a cracked pink helmet that smelled of coconut shampoo and mild terror. I climbed on behind her and we bussed toward Jomtien Beach. Riding a pillion through Thai traffic at night is an act of faith that would make the Pope sweat. Tuk-tuks swarmed us like metallic locusts. Song cows belched blue exhaust. Lily navigated the chaos with one hand on the throttle and the other conducting an invisible orchestra. I closed my eyes for 5 seconds. When I opened them, we were racing a summer storm. Lightning stitching the horizon like loose thread. We reached the beach just as the first fat raindrops landed. The shoreline was empty, except for a sleeping lifeguard and 3 plastic chairs in formation. We hijacked the chairs, pointed them at the Black Sea, and let the storm do its thing. Thunder rolled in slow motion. The kind you feel before you hear. Lily produced a flask of Hong Tom rum, took a swig, passed it over. Fire in the throat, salt on the lips, electricity in the air. My bloodstream became a chemistry lab. Somewhere between the second and third swig, she told me about Songkran, the Thai New Year water festival. Imagine this, she said, tracing shapes in the air. Entire country turns into water fight. Old people bless you. Kids ambush you. Everyone equal. She invited me to join her family in Chiang Mai next month. I wanted to say yes, but my calendar was a blank page filled with unspoken medical warnings. Instead, I gave the expatriate favorite's non-answer. We'll see. The rain quit as abruptly as it began, leaving the sky rinsed clean. We walked the promenade, stepping over puddles reflecting neon hieroglyphs. A street dog joined us for 2 kilometers, decided we were dull, and defected to a couple sharing spring rolls. Lily asked why I'd come to Thailand. I rattled off the usual half-truths. Cheap living, sunshine, adventure, omitting the part about fleeing invoices, ex-girlfriends, and the slow suffocating of small-town gossip. She countered with her own confession. She'd once dreamed of studying music in Italy, but her father's stroke rerouted her life. She stayed, taught English, sent half her salary home. You know, she said, kicking a bottle cap into oblivion. Sometimes paradise and prison are the same place. Depends on the day. I thought about my neon-soaked hedonism, my body silently mutinying, and wondered which label applied to me. The silence that followed felt heavier than the storm. We parted outside my resort. Lily scribbled her line ID on my wrist with a marker that smelled like teenage rebellion. Don't rinse it off, she ordered. I saluted with the cracked helmet. She revved the scooter, executed a theatrical U-turn, and vanished into the city's pulsing arteries. I lingered, watching her taillight smear across wet asphalt until it became just another stroke in Pattaya's abstract painting. Inside my room, the fan performed its usual squeaky carousel routine. I caught myself in the mirror, sunburned, rain-soaked, eyes red but alive. The marker on my wrist looked like a lifeline drawn by a child. I grabbed my notebook, the one where I tracked baht expenses and late-night revelations, and wrote, "Met a teacher who can outplay me on guitar and outdrown me in a storm." Reminder, heart still beats for reasons beyond stimulants. I underlined it twice, a rare act of optimism. Morning arrived with the hiss of street vendors firing up gas burners. The marker had bled into the sheets, but the ID was still legible. I considered messaging Lily, maybe even booking a train ticket north. But my chest tightened, a subtle drumroll of danger. Somewhere inside, the cardiologist's future verdict was already scribbling red ink. I showered, shaved, and told myself I'd text after breakfast. Spoiler, I never did. All wild rides crash eventually. One night, after a particularly epic bucket of surprise, yes, it had booze, I felt a piercing pain in my chest. I thought I'd been kicked by a mule, but I was alone on a bar stool. Next thing I knew, a friendly ladyboy called a paramedic. I woke up in a Bangkok hospital, blinking under fluorescent lights, heart monitors beeping at me. A cardiologist came in, saw my chart, and sighed. Then she said, "You have heart problem. Maybe a few months, maybe a year. Not good, Giovanni." I joked, "Grazie, dottoressa. I was worried I'd die bored." She did not laugh. Instead, she rubbed my shoulder and laid out the truth. "No more Viagra, no more buckets. Take pills, see doctor." She even quoted Medline Plus, sudden death in men who took Viagra. I forced a grin and said, "Good one, they always say that." Out in the street later, the city lights looked different. The party had a price tag that night, but I'm nothing if not stubborn. I stocked up on everything she wore me off. And I made a decision. If I had only months left, I might as well live them on the craziest terms possible. I refused to die in a bed I didn't like, so I went full party planner for my grand finale. I texted everyone, "Final fiesta at Giovanni's. Come witness history." The Scottish pub owner lugged in a karaoke machine. The Russian bartender donated a bottle of vodka for medical reasons. A ladyboy brought a pink feather boa, just because. Even a stray cat wandered in, sensing it was cuddle 30. By 10 p.m., a wild crowd had assembled. We had karaoke on, starting with Bollare, naturally. A Danish tourist barged in and declared himself my official hype man, waving 2 sparklers. I put on Frank Sinatra's New York, New York, and someone held an open umbrella over me while I performed. I was king of the world on that filthy bunk bed. The girls circled me, giggling, as I belted out Italian classics. Worse than opera, better than dying alone. At one point, I raised my glass and shouted, "This drink's on me, and maybe my heart is too." Everyone cheered. We danced like maniacs. John from Nebraska kept eating pretzels and calling us nobodies. He didn't believe we'd still be partying at sunrise. The ladyboys taught us a synchronized dance move that somehow involved shaking thumb bands at the ceiling, and the R&B beat from the neighbor's stereo mixed in. The stray cat became our mascot, mowing along whenever I hit a high note. I even got all the girls to form a conga line around the futon. We looked ridiculous, like a circus trying out for Florence. It was beautiful. "I never thought I'd go out like this," I said to Lisa, the ladyboy, hugging her forehead. She patted my hand and told me to finish my shot. So I did, in one go. Then I staggered to the kitchen, grabbed a handful of the neon pills I had stashed, and offer them around with a wicked grin. Free giveaways, they laughed, thinking it was a joke. Sunrise crept over Pattaya at last. My guests, sensing the end, started drifting off quietly. I lay back on the futon, palm up, feeling the world spin. The ceiling fan above me was turning slower now, almost proudly, as if it knew its job was done. I took one last gulp of lukewarm beer, toasted the waking sky, and whispered, "Not bad, world, not bad." I hope you know I am not glamorizing any of this. I was out of my mind. This is Giovanni signing off, not as a hero, but as a fool who chose a silly end. Don't go to Pattaya expecting this. I turned myself into a cautionary legend. But if even one person smirks at my absurdity, then maybe it was worth telling. Grazie mille for your channel and for listening to my crazy confession. If I'm gone by the time you get this, at least it was one hell of a final episode. Ciao for the last time. Giovanni.